Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to make a video for you guys on the Cirrus Vision Jet, the G2, and this is an aircraft, a default aircraft that came with Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. And I know you guys have probably noticed I haven't been making too much Flight Sim content, and that's only because, you know, there's been a lot of issues with the Flight Sim recently, and you know, I know there's been some patches to fix it up a bit, so I feel a little bit more confident now that I should be able to start making you guys some more videos. So today we're going to be looking at the emergency button on this aircraft, which does work, and if all else fails, we'll be taking a look at the parachute and seeing how that reacts. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Okay, so for this demonstration, like I said, we're going to be using the Cirrus Vision Jet G2. This is the default aircraft that came with the sim. And just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to take off from Nassau and we'll be heading towards, let's say, Miami. Now we're not going to do the full trip. This is just for a test to see how the actual emergency button works and the parachute. So this is the flight plan. Like I said, I'm going to get up in the air and then we'll push that button and see where it takes us, but I'll walk you through it once we get there. Okay, so here we are in the aircraft. The flight plan and the computer already seems to be there. It's just a direct to. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly just put an altitude. So let's say we're going to go up to 6,000, well, let's say 5,000 feet. And once that's in there, so the flight automation, in case you don't know, is all done with this little panel right here in the center. And then there's a little panel right below. This here is for the throttle, so you have the auto throttle on off, you have the switch for manual, and you have the switch for FMS, which means the computer is going to control the speed for you, or you can manually dictate what you want by using the scroll wheel by increasing or decreasing your speed. Right now we're going to leave the auto throttle off. We'll put that on once we get in the air and I'll tell you why. So for the meantime, I've rotated the altitude. The altitude shows up here, so 5,000, and we can use the heading on this side, which we don't want to use right now, so we're going to use nav since we already have it programmed in the computer. It's going to follow this pink line, and the flight director, this FD, automatically turned on at the same time, and that's just the marker here. So this is what the plane is going to follow, is this pink marker here. And then above that we have the autopilot button. Now if you're in the air and you just press this LVL button, this is level. So this will just maintain your level flight. And over here you have a couple of options. So you have flight level change. So flight level change will keep your speed and will manage your altitude increase or decrease based off of your speed, off the computer speed. Then you have the VS, so vertical speed. So if you click here, you're going to have to use a scroll wheel again to choose how much of a pitch you want. So do you want it to pitch lower? You want to pitch higher? If you do this, you're going to eventually start increasing in speed or decreasing in speed depending on where you go. This altitude, you don't have to click it. This will automatically illuminate once you've reached your desired altitude or the altitude marked up here. And then you have the VNAV. So the VNAV, you can press this button if you have it in your flight computer. So if you go to flight plan and you go here to VNAV, this will tell you when it's going to start the descent, and I only usually use this for the descent, but it does, I believe, work for climb and cruise and descent as well. I just leave it on, but you don't really need to. So you can either use flight level change to go up or down, or the vertical speed. So for this, I'm going to use flight level change. I'm going to let the computer manage it, and that's pretty much all you have to set there. So once you're ready, we're going to release the parking brakes, and we're just going to give it full throttle. we go. Nice easy liftoff. So landing gear can come up. And we don't want to pitch up too much because then you lose a lot of speed. So we're going to try and stay where that pink marker is. Close around there. We can start bringing our flaps up now. So the reason why I didn't want to put on the auto throttle is because if I keep this on max, right now the computer is going to maintain a higher pitch to climb. If I turned on auto throttle, it may reduce the throttle, which means my pitch couldn't be as high and it's going to start to go down. So right now, let's just start turning because we need to go back the other way. And we're already at 2,400. And once I'm lined up again with the path, then I'll enable the autopilot. Okay, and I'm just about there. So at this point I can start to level off again. And I'm going to press the autopilot button. And now what I'm going to do, oh, it wants to pitch very high. I need to bring that back down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on auto throttle, and that will, there we go, that'll level us out. And we're at 6,000 feet, so we climbed very fast. Which is fine, we can fix that. We can bring it right back up to 6,000, that way it'll stay there. 6,000, flight level change. Okay, so here we are just flying on our path. Everything looks good, it's on autopilot. And we're just leaving Nassau heading towards Miami. So this plane is usually flown with just one pilot, or could be flown with one pilot. In this case we have two. But let's just say for whatever reason both of us fell asleep or became incapacitated, we can no longer fly the plane. So above our heads we have this emergency red button here. If you press this button, the plane is automatically going to take over. It's going to look for the nearest runway or airport that it can land on, and it's going to perform an auto land all by itself. So we're going to test that button out now and see how it does in the sim. So here we go. Press the button. First thing you see is the yellow button over here that says land. Now if you look at our screens, we get a warning. The warning is saying emergency Autoland activating. Here's emergency Autoland. Okay, so what you see here on the screens now, it says emergency Autoland, but down here it says failed, no airport found. Now this is common for some weird reason on this plane in the sim, not in real life. But what I find is if you turn off the autopilot, it kind of clears it. Turn the autopilot back on, okay, and then try it again. Press the button. There's that yellow light again, and let's see if it picks it up this time. Sometimes you might have to do it 2 or 3 times, but I find that usually the second time it works. So here we go. This time it's working. So as of right now, it's found an airport that it finds is a closest, and it's going to try and automatically land at the airport. Now the screens here normally would have like I guess the squawk code on there, and it would have a button that you can press if you want to talk to ATC, and this would be for the passengers. The main two displays look fairly realistic. Over here it says turning right, and it has like a timer. It tells you you're landing in about 30 minutes. You're en route to Grand Bahama International. And over here you're descending in 25 minutes. On the right side you have miles remaining, so I have 111 miles with total fuel of up to 1.6 hours. Now these numbers, I don't believe them very much because I've done this before, and I can tell that the numbers kind of fluctuate. They'll go up and down, so it's not 100% accurate, but I mean, it's for what it is, and for being in the sim, I think it's a good start. I think they just need to kind of fix it up a little bit. But as of right now, like I said, I'm not touching the plane. The plane is going to fly itself to the nearest airport, and then it's going to start to land itself. So right now it says we still have 31 minutes, which in most cases is odd because it should land at a closer airport, so it either should have returned back to Nassau or even at the Bahamas, which would have been way closer. But it looks like it wants to take a long route and go 30 minutes out. But I'm going to fast forward it to get to that, at least close to that airport, and then we'll see how the landing works. Okay, so I stopped the speeding up of the aircraft.
Vertical track.
And while it was speeding up, I was kind of thinking, and maybe the reason why the computer decided to go out this far is because of fuel. Since we had just taken out, we were probably heavy on fuel. Aircrafts usually like to land light or closer to empty. So perhaps that's maybe one of the reasons why the plane calculated to come so far out, at least 30 minutes. Again, just my guess, or maybe not, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Anyway, so it says here that we're landing in approximately 6 minutes. We'll start a descent in 2 minutes, and then we'll probably start that turn in 2 minutes, which makes sense. So we'll wait and see how the plane reacts once it gets closer, and we can see the island off in the distance here, off to our right where we're landing. So we're very, very close now, so let's see how the plane reacts. Now remember guys, the plane has started descending. It's pretty much doing everything on its own. It will reduce throttle, it will descend on its own, and it will land the aircraft on the runway. Now any minute it should start to make that right turn towards the airport. And there it is. And since we're already on the descent, it will also control the flaps to reduce the speed and pull down the landing gear on its own. So I'm just monitoring and paying attention. I'm just pretending to be a passenger. I'm not touching the aircraft at all. I just want to see how accurate this system actually is. And as you can see from the exterior view, it's already pulled down flap 1. And off in the distance there, we can see the airport over here. Very soon it should start pulling down the landing gear. And this message you guys see on this screen over here, this is normal. This is just safe return Autoland activated. And it'll have a bunch of instructions for the passengers in case they want to communicate to somebody or what to do while the plane is automatically flying them down. So far so good. Speed is 117. It says we'll be landing in the next 3 minutes. The landing gear has already come up, flaps have already been pulled down again to flap 2. So we're pretty much good in landing configuration. And we got knocked around by a little bit of wind here. Plane should be able to adjust itself. So the only thing I'm going to do, guys, is once the plane lands on the runway, while it does its roll off, I will apply some brakes because I don't believe it does that on its own. So I'll apply some brake pressure just to slow it down a bit until it comes to a complete stop. So far it's looking good. You can see the poppy lights there on the left side of the runway. We got the 2 whites and I believe it's 2 reds. It's hard to tell. Okay, so here we go. There's the runway. Now we should throttle back. Okay, a little bit of a hard landing. I didn't see much of a flare. I'm going to apply some brake pressure. Okay, well that stopped very, very quickly. So, I mean, it landed pretty bang on the center almost. Like I said, I didn't see much of a flare, which would have made it a smoother touchdown, but it did land itself. So let's pull up these flaps. And I'm just going to reset this, so again, autopilot on off. Okay, now I just wanted to quickly test out the parachute. Flaps back up. Just do flap. There we go. Yeah, I really do like this plane. I know that the payware, I used to have it for Flight Sim 2020 and it was great. The feature of the button and the parachute didn't work in that version. It does in this one. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice little plane. It feels well when you fly it by hand, but the automation I think needs a little bit of work. So we're going to take off. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to climb to about 3,000, then I'll level off. And then we'll just test out the parachute. We'll do it over water just to see the effect on it. Okay, so here's 2500. Okay, so here we go. It's still climbing. So here's another problem is I guess this auto throttle has to be on in order to reduce, or else the nose wants to always pitch upwards. So you have to reduce that throttle or else it'll just always pitch up. Okay, so we're at 3800 right now, we're at level cruise. And again, let's just say there's an emergency, that button back here is not working. The other option you have in this aircraft is this pull bar here. So if you pull this down, this is going to be the parachute. So to me, I think the best thing to do normally would be to reduce the throttle or to cut the throttle off and then to pull this, because I find whenever I pull, as you can see, the nose starts to go up, which is supposed to. As you'll see, there's the parachute, it just popped out. See, this is what I was trying to avoid, is the rotation. So if you're doing it full throttle, it's just going to start to do a backspin. So if you reduce the throttle enough and it just starts to pitch up, then this is supposed to open. You're supposed to get the parachute, and then you're supposed to start to glide back down to earth. So again, the physics are not the greatest on this right now, but I mean it's good enough to demonstrate the safety features that this jet actually has. As of right now, you saw the lid from the nose popped open. That's where the parachute comes from. I'm guessing maybe it's just in the middle of the plane now, just to kind of give it equal forces on either side. Not sure if it actually stays at the nose, but here we go. We're coming down for landing. And yes, it was still a hard landing, but you know what? You may have survived from that if you had no engine or if you had a real emergency. And after the plane is down, it will take some time. Let me see if I can see it. There's the parachute. It's hard to see it from here. Actually, maybe if let's see if I can exit. Okay, here we are. We managed to get away unscathed. If we look up somewhere, okay, here it is. So as you can see, the parachute physics are a little slow. It's coming down, it's moving. Eventually it'll come and it'll also hit the floor. And once you deploy that parachute, I don't believe there's any recovery of the plane. At this point, you just gotta leave it and restart again. But yeah, it works fairly well. Like I said, I think within the next couple of updates they'll make it better. But I do really like this plane. I like the features that they've added into it. It's very realistic to the real aircraft. And yeah, the sim is shaping up to be really good. It just, they just need to iron out some of these bugs and fixes for the planes. And I think this will be better than 2020, hopefully very, very soon. So hope you guys like what you saw. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.